Atule, a very good morning to you. What are you seeing on the ground? Are things proceeding as planned?
Well, Desiree, it looks like the Congress will be proceeding. We've been seeing jovial members and delegates coming in here singing. I can tell you that the plenary inside here is packed. The delegates are here. They've finally arrived. The Congress was supposed to start on Monday, but it was postponed to today because there was a court interdict which was granted on Saturday to NUMSA not to halt the Congress because some of the members that were suspended where that decision was deemed to be unconstitutional and invalid by the Labour Court. But the NUMSA has since appealed that decision on Tuesday after their special central committee had sat. So they decided that since they have appealed that decision, they will start to sit on this Congress. I have Pakamile Hlubi-Majola, the spokesperson of NUMSA. She was saying to us earlier on that they tried to rectify some of the judgments which are in that Labour Court judgment. But I will bring in Pakamile to just talk to us more and elaborate on this issue. Pakamile, it seems like the Congress is finally underway, finally.
Yes, the Congress now is underway. As you correctly said, we had to postpone because of the fact that on Saturday evening the judge interdicted us. Our challenge, of course, was by the time that the judge interdicted us, half of our delegates were already here. So we did have a special central committee meeting yesterday where we dealt with some of the issues that were raised in the interdict. We have tried to comply as far as is humanly possible given the constraints that we have. But at the same time, we are going ahead. We're proceeding with this Congress.
What are some of the grievances that were raised by the complainants and also that were noted in that judgment by the judge? I know that some provinces were not meeting the threshold and there was also the suspension. Why was that deemed to be unconstitutional?
So the judge made a ruling that the decision or the process which we used in order to suspend the second deputy president was not the right process. The judge felt that the CC should not have been the one to suspend, it should have been the NEC. The judge also lifted the suspensions of the second deputy president along with 4 other regional office bearers on the basis that one of the urgent demands which they had made in their application was that they felt that their democratic right to contest in the Congress was being violated. And one of the other issues that the judge had raised was with respect to the Credentials Committee and the process thereof. So what we then corrected or accepted was we accepted the lifting of the suspension. As of right now, all of those people are in the Congress. They are able to participate and they can contest if they wish, if they so wish. At the same time, we corrected some of the issues that were wrong, according to the judge anyway, with regards to the process that we followed in the Credentials Committee, and we cleaned that up yesterday following the Central Committee meeting. But there are other aspects of this judgment that are problematic. For example, the judge said, as a union, the Central Committee does not have the right to place a region under administration. We had placed Mpumalanga under administration, and as a result of the state of Mpumalanga was not eligible to participate in the Congress. We felt that that decision was a wrong decision because as a union, we have frequently had to intervene in regions where there were problems. We've placed them under administration, and for the judge to rule that way, it basically means that workers in Mpumalanga will not get served because there's no leadership at the moment. They did not hold their regional congress, and as a region, they are dysfunctional. So that and other reasons are some of the reasons that we're going to court, especially around the issue of how the judge views the role of the Central Committee. The judge felt that because the Constitution does not expressly state that the Central Committee is the highest body between Congress, that the Central Committee rather has the power to suspend, we felt that was a misreading of the Constitution. So there's that and other issues that we're hoping to correct, which is why we've appealed the judgment. But we think that we've tried to comply as far as is possible, bearing in mind that this is all the members are here, and it would be very difficult for us to repeat this process again.
You're talking about being very difficult to repeat this process again. Just talk to us about the logistics. What do you mean by that?
Well, because we're talking about the fact that, as I said, by the time the judge interdicted us, it was Saturday, half the delegates had already arrived. We were expecting at least 1,000 delegates to come here. All of those people for the 5 days when we were supposed to have a Congress, we've booked hotels, we've paid for food, so it's a logistical crisis. So we can't postpone this for weeks or months until we satisfy all aspects of the judgment. And as I said, there are aspects of that judgment that don't correspond with our constitution and how we operate. And this is why we are appealing the decision by the court.
We'll come back to that. The judge gave a ruling that the decision to suspend those members was unconstitutional. Maybe for someone who's looking from outside will say there are no democratic processes on NUMSA because they will view this as purging the members who express their view to contest the elections. What do you say on that?
The judge didn't go into the merits of whether we were right or wrong to suspend. The judge said the process you used was wrong. And I think it's important to stress that, because he didn't make a finding against us for deciding to suspend. He said the mechanism you used was the wrong mechanism. And that's because of his interpretation of the Constitution. We differ with his interpretation. However, we've accepted it for the sake of the Congress, that, okay, he's saying that we didn't have the right, the CC didn't have the right to suspend. That's fine. Therefore, we accept that he's lifted the suspension. However, we are going to correct that issue in law because it is incorrect. The CC does have the power to suspend. And those are some of the things that we are going to be dealing with when we appeal this matter.
Let's say then you win that appeal while you had delegates which are not supposed to be voting, let's say in Mpumalanga, and then you win on that Supreme Court of Appeal, your appeal application. And then maybe, let's say, a different leadership has emerged here, let's say either or. Maybe the ones who are contesting, who are the applicants, or the incumbent leadership. What then happens? Wouldn't this be a roller coaster of litigations and also other court applications going forward for you?
We don't think so. Because, as we said, there are things about this judgment that we must correct. If we were to leave this judgment as is, it would leave, for example, it would mean that the region of Mpumalanga is permanently paralyzed. If we were to do what the judge word for word was saying we must do, it means that the region of Mpumalanga is permanently paralyzed. And that is a big problem for us. At the same time, the power of the Central Committee must be enforced, because that is how we operate as an organization. So we are going to appeal to correct the decision of the judge. And if later there's court cases, then we'll deal with it there. But we can only deal with what we know right now, and these are the circumstances that are facing us at the moment.
Just talk to us about today's proceedings and the next few days, what is going to be happening.
So we would have traditionally had 5 days of a Congress. We now have to compress those 5 days into 3 days. And that basically means that we're obviously going to hear more when we go into the plenary, but it does mean that there will have to be changes made to the program for obvious reasons. So besides electing leadership, this Congress is actually supposed to deal with changes to the Constitution as well. So we will also be dealing with those, but it just means we've only got 3 days instead of 5 days to do it.
Pamela, thank you so much. We'll be speaking about those policy discussions later on in our conversation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Pagamile Hlubi-Majola, spokesperson for National Union of Metalworkers of South Africa, just talking to us about some of the issues pertaining to this Congress, which is happening here. It was supposed to start on Monday and go through over 5 days, but due to the litigations which are ongoing and the court ruling which interdicted this particular Congress, it was suspended. It will ultimately start today and it will run over 3 days, which means it will be compressed to those 3 days. And also the members which were suspended going to this conference who will be contesting, such as the second deputy president, Ruth Takotse, is here now because they are saying they've tried to to fix and comply with the court ruling and the court interdict. So the members are here. They will be contesting as well. We will be watching closely as to what will happen, especially now that the management of NUMSA, the leadership of NUMSA, is also filed an appeal to the Supreme Court of Appeal. So we'll be looking at those processes and how they will unfold in the next coming days.
Atule, thank you so much for bringing us up to speed with this story that's being watched with a lot of interest.